Welcome to the Contact Center Gurus, the podcast for contact center and customer experience leaders. Learn best practices, new technologies, tips and tricks, and more. Today's episode is sponsored by supportlogic. supportlogic is the world's first support experience platform for customer support leaders, helping you move from providing reactive to proactive support. Reduce customer escalations by 40%. Reduce customer churn by 25%. Improve proactive outreach by 60% and more. Extract the voice of the customer in real time without surveys. Elevate your customer support and transform your customer experience with groundbreaking applications for next-generation customer service and support. Change the game with applications that leverage innovative AI and NLP technology, intelligent workflows, and intuitive UI for the SX platform. Sign up now for a free sandbox environment at www.supportlogic.io. This podcast is sponsored by Balto. Do your reps forget the right things to say on calls? Do they frequently put customers on hold because they don't know the answer? Or maybe they forget to ask discovery questions that help qualify customers. With Balto, you can guide each rep through their conversations at the push of a button. Balto rides along your reps' screens, listens to both sides of the conversation, and shows them the best things to say live on the call. After just 14 weeks of using Balto, National General Insurance saw 16% higher conversions and 53-second lower handle times. Head over to balto.ai/guru to get a free pair of Bose headphones for a demo. That's BALTO.ai/GURU. This podcast is also sponsored by ozonetel. Is a contact center part of your customer service strategy? ozonetel's AI-assisted platform will help you deliver the best experience possible. It's an affordable contact center solution with advanced features, deep native integrations, and outstanding service. There are no contracts or annual commitments, and you can get a basic contact center deployed within hours. Experience it yourself with a free trial at www.ozonetel.com. This podcast is sponsored by cloudtechgurus. cloudtechgurus are the hottest technology matchmakers for contact center leaders in the country. Sourcing technologies and solution providers is grueling, time-consuming, and complicated. They make the process simpler and more efficient. The gurus map out your requirements, source solutions providers, help you choose the one that is the right fit, and help manage the implementation, all at no cost. They work with nearly every major vendor, more than 150 solutions providers, and are vendor agnostic. They help save you time, money, and headaches. Visit www.cloudtechgurus.com to learn more. Now, let's listen in.
Hello, this is Darren Prine, and joining me today is Joe Jacoboni, the CEO for NextGen Technology Solutions and NextGen Virtual Office. And our title today is called Embracing the Future with 100% Remote Labor Force and NextGen Virtual Office. So Joe, welcome. Good to have you with me today.
Well, thanks, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So imminently, remote work is here to stay, seen through a variety of sources. There has been an uptick in innovation and use of software applications for remote workforces. And remote teams are reporting improvements to their training and communication methods. But in surveys of management, the reports are that of frustration, and many continue to express that they have lost control of their teams and their work environment. While some companies are embracing outsourcing to remote teams and continue working with BPO companies, others are convinced that they can't accomplish the same level of performance or productivity without a brick and mortar office environment. We're here with Joe, and what we're going to talk about is his recent acquisition of a platform that is giving clients access to micromanage their outsourcing investments while giving BPO managers the green light to recruit and hire all over the world, and then go inside their workers' home offices virtually. So Joe, Next Gen Technologies, really interesting. You were a BPO with 100% remote contact center, agents all over the world, serving clients all over the world. And then you acquired this virtual office platform and invested in the improvement and development. You basically rebuilt it from the ground up, preparing for an exciting launch. So explain how that acquisition happened and how you came to own Next Gen Virtual Office.
Well, I've been in the business, Darren, since 1991. So, and I got to be honest with you, I was never a fan of remote workers. I always felt the same way that, the best way to develop a culture in a community is within a brick and mortar facility. You can have lunch together, coffee together, cooler talk together. And, I always believed in that. But as the years progressed, all of the BPOs went to some remote workers, some fashion, mostly a hybrid environment. And most companies still were mostly brick and mortar until the pandemic. And I had started Next Gen Contact Solutions, which is a subsidiary of Next Gen Technologies. And we were in the process of opening up a 8,000 square foot call center and bought all the assets and we're ready to go and sign the lease. And then this wonderful pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, they kind of killed all those plans. So the next thing that happened was a friend of mine who I'd known for decades, Tony Portman, happened to contact me and say, hey, I'm running this company that has this unbelievable virtual office platform. You need to look at it. You really don't need to build a brick and mortar contact center. I said, well, your timing's pretty good. I said, let's look at it. So I started looking at the platform and looking at how to facilitate a contact center and the type of communications that our management always wants to have with our agents. And I became enamored with the platform. It was amazing. It's so real, place and presence that you almost forget that you're not in a brick and mortar call center. So I used the platform for about 1.5 years, and the company became for sale. And I love the platform so much I didn't want to see it go away, so I bought the company. And we acquired the company, and we started utilizing it with all of our customers, and my management loves it. We can now recruit all over the world. We can recruit the best talent anywhere. We're not limited to recruiting within a 5-mile radius. We have the ability to communicate with our agents with a click of a button. And we can be in their home office with just clicking on their avatar, and we're immediately video conferencing with them, sharing documents, sharing your screen, doing any type of chat facility, any type of video chat. So it was amazing. And so when I built the company, we decided we were going to build a small call center, and quite frankly, we don't see any advantage in doing that. So we're 100% virtual right now.
Yeah, I could imagine that when I worked as an agent in a call center, I remember my supervisor would sometimes just come up behind me and watch me for a while. Sometimes she'd monitor me remotely, but mostly they like to walk around and see what you're doing, what was on your screen. I even remember the first one, they would plug in, sit next to you, watch you, and listen in. I remember that. And this kind of gives you that same, more or less, the same abilities you used to have in a brick and mortar to be able to go over, watch, listen, except in a virtual environment. It gives you those same capabilities. Is that correct?
Yeah, the first call center I started in 1991, we actually started the first call center that high-tech companies outsource technical support calls to. And just to show you how far technology has come, we used to have headsets on the agents. We used to have a handset on the desk, and then supervisors used to walk around and pick up the handset and listen in on the phone call and coach the agent. So we've come a long way since 1991. But with our technology, it really gives us one of the things I hated about remote agents is you never really could tell what was going on in the environment of the agent. There could be babies in the background, dogs barking, chickens clucking, whatever. I've heard it all. but we never could tell, because typically all you could do is either A, monitor the screens through a CCAS system, or B, call them on the phone, and if they're in the middle of a call, obviously that doesn't work as well. So it always was a concern to me when we were hiring remote agents. We always hired them within a 50-mile radius of our contact center, so that so they could come into the office, so they could become of the community, part of the culture of the company. And also, if we wanted to, we could go out to their home and monitor the environment. We very rarely ever did that. But yeah, with this technology, again, I can see who's available in their cubicle. I can click on their cubicle and their avatar, and I'm instantaneously in their home office communicating with them without disrupting the CCAS system.
Well, that's really cool. So how do your agents work inside the environment, and what does it improve performance-wise for them?
That's an interesting question, Darren. The biggest problem with remote agents is they're isolated, right? They don't know anybody in the company. They don't know any other agents. They don't know they usually don't know anybody but their frontline manager or the HR person who recruited them. With our technology, it gives them the ability to meet other agents, because they can see, we have an overhead floor plan that they can see what agents are in their cubicles. And if they want to communicate with them, they click on their avatar, and they're instantaneously communicating with them. But the biggest issue that I've seen with remote agents is they aren't part of the culture of the company. They don't feel like they're part of the community. And that's a big part of why we go to work. Right? It's not just to make money and to do a job. Many of us go to work, they socialize, they become friends with their coworkers, it's getting out of the house and communicating with another adult, right? So again, with the remote agent, they don't have that option, but with our technology, they do. So, the interesting part about turnover is in our industry, as you know, it's notorious for turnover. Typically, the average BPO turns over anywhere from 8 to 10% of their staff a month. So they're turning over about 100% a year. With home agents, it's even higher, because when home agents get disillusioned or they hit a bump in the road or a roadblock, they just resign. It's basically a lower paying job. So they just go find a job elsewhere.
Yeah. Maybe we should just do a little visual here. So people have heard us talking about virtual office. I'll share up my screen here for a second. So literally for companies, let's say a BPO that wanted to set up virtual office, they can have kind of their whole building look and feel. And then the person can basically come check in, enter their info, who they're there to see, essentially go up the elevator, and they're there in the call center, or they're there in the office, as it might work out. I'll go ahead and just log into yours here real quick, if it'll let me. And I think we're seeing Walkabout Office. So in fact, here's my virtual office, and here's the floor plan. So I can see Joe in his virtual office, wherever you are, Joe.
I logged out of the office so I could be a part of your audio.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. Well, you could see in here. So anyhow, we could see different people. I could go into their offices. I could go into conference rooms or other rooms or training rooms. Here's the Bourbon Barrel Boardroom. I think that's my favorite of the rooms. And then, potentially looking at the floor plan, I could go to other areas. I could go to the contact center and see the agents' cubicles. And clients can basically custom design their offices and the whole floor plan of the call center, different floors, different floor plans. And then they're able to see their coworkers. They're able to go into the offices, have video meetings, share documents, have full collaboration. Anything else I should show while I'm in here, Joe?
Well, what we call it place and presence, Darren, and it's a place to go to work, and it's giving you the presence with your other coworkers. And what we try to do is we try to emulate a real brick and mortar environment as much as we possibly can, being virtually. So you hit on it. We're in a boardroom right now, and people's persona and their personality changes by the type of environment they go in. So when you walk into a boardroom, your mentality is different than when you go into your office. Or if you're going to go, if you bring down the heads-up display, click there.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the middle of the floor, you'll see there's a break room. Go down a little bit. There you go. Click. No, you had it. No. Now you're going to take me to the lobby. All right. So again, this is as brick and mortar as you possibly can. So now you're in the break room. So, when you go into a break room, you become more social. And we give employees the opportunity to have a social environment where they can go and have a virtual digital lunch or a cup of coffee together. Same thing when they go to a training room. When they go to a training room, their mentality changes that they're going to be in a training environment versus it's up by that red circle. I think is the training room to the left, to my left. There you go. Down a little bit. No, that's your office again, Darren. I got to teach you how to use the platform. There you go. now we're in a training room. So again, when I go into a training room, my mentality subliminally, and this isn't a conscious thing, this is a subconscious thing, that we're programmed throughout our entire lives how to react to different environments. So that's why we have what we call place and presence. So when I'm in this training room, I go in with the training mentality.
Very cool.
So if you go to the next gen, if you click right there on next gen and click down and you click there, and now you're going to bring up the call center. So now you can see we have 100 workstations in this call center. You can see that there are supervisor desks, one supervisor for every 25 agents. You can see there's another break room at the top of the screen, and you can see. That you can click there. That's another break room that we can go to. And what's interesting is if an agent is in the break room and another agent comes in, it's like them walking into the break room, right? They're going to start talking to each other. They're going to start communicating. They're going to start developing a relationship. Again, being a part of the culture and the community of the company. And I can't express that enough, because one thing that I've always prided myself on in the industry is I've never had more than 10% turnover a year, not a month, a year. And as a result of that, and the reason I believe that's the case is we always created a family environment, if you will, for that people always felt that they were part of the company. And so they were always part of the community. Obviously, in this environment, it makes it very difficult to do so.
Absolutely. And whatever room I'm in, I'm going to be able to turn on my video. I'm going to be able to do chat. I'm going to be able to see the other person or multiple people here on video, and they'll see me, and we could share information and share screens and do trainings.
If you go up to the top of the screen to the right, there's a chat box there. You can see, there you go, click on that. And now you're instantaneously chatting. And so you can be sending me a message. You can be downloading a document here. You can do a video chat if you wanted to send out a message to everybody in the company. A video chat as a CEO, I might want a message to go out to every employee. I can do that. I can do text chat, or I can do a voice chat. And I can create groups, individuals. I can be as public or as private as I want it to be.
Excellent. Granular control. Well, that's super cool.
Oh, okay.
Did you want me to show more?
I was going to show you one other thing, but that's okay. We're good. Awesome.
Well, that was a great visual for folks. They hear us talking about it, but sometimes you have to see it to appreciate it. All right, we've covered how agents are working and how they're able to collaborate with each other, how it's building the culture, giving you what you used to have in the brick and mortars as far as being able to monitor agents and coach them and train them and so on. Now everybody has been forced to adopt the remote model. And in fact, a lot of call center agents are refusing to go back to the model where they have to be at a brick and mortar center. And that's some of the shortage on staffing right now. But you decided to embrace it early on. And I think originally you embraced it, if I remember correctly, before the pandemic. And then the pandemic basically reassured you that you'd done the right model. And I think you also determined, if I remember correctly, that by not having that piece of real estate, it was like a 20 to 30% savings for you. which was great because it allowed you to be more competitive. What are some of the bigger changes since the pandemic for the industry as a whole? And then we'll tie that into virtual office.
Well, as you said, because obviously overhead's overhead, right? If you've
Mhm.
got to rent an office, and you got to have insurance, and you have to have infrastructure, and you have to have furniture, and you have to have all the things that you need to have a physical facility. And
Utilities.
again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Utilities is a big one too.
Utilities, servers, still people are doing some on-prem stuff. Most of people are in the cloud, but because we don't have any of that overhead, we save about 20 to 30% of our expense structure, and we can bring that to our clients and to our bottom line. So that's a really big change for us, and we're able to be very competitive in the market as a result of that. Some of the bigger changes that I think has happened is that the employees have embraced this completely. I think you heard recently that Elon Musk told all of his employees, if you don't come to work, you're fired. If you don't come to the office, you're fired. Well, you know what? A lot of people quit. You had just sent me an article on a company that decided that they wanted everybody to come back to the brick and mortar, and demanded that all the employees come back. And I think they said they lost 50% of their staff as a result of that. And it's not because they were getting paid a lot more money from a competitor. It was the fact that they said, hey, why do I want to drive into work when I can do my job as efficiently, or maybe even more efficiently and effectively I can from my home? And in addition to that, I don't have to drive, don't have a 2-hour commute every day back and forth to work, don't have to spend $5-10 a gallon on gasoline, don't have to spend money on lunch, don't have to dress up to go to work. I can just wear a nice shirt and be presentable on the video conference. So the employees have really, and plus it's a life changer, right? I really believe in balance, work and home life. I think that people that work all the time like me are a little bit worked, but I think that it gives people the ability to be more involved with their kids, more involved with their home life, more involved with the outside things that they like to do on a regular basis. The problem is management has lost control of the environment. They've totally lost control of the work environment in typical situations. And what I mean by that is, even in our platform, and we're changing this to a degree, if an agent doesn't want to turn their camera on, they don't have to turn their camera on. If they don't want to, if they can log in and be in the system and not want to talk to us. And especially with most of the platforms on the market, you have to send an invitation, then the invitation has to be accepted, a time needs to be scheduled, and then people show up to the video conference. Again, with our platform, none of that happens. All you do is go and click on the avatar, and you're instantaneously communicating. So most senior managers really do not like remote workers. They would prefer, and again, it's all about habit, right? It's all about what they're used to. It's comfortable for them, right? They can walk down the hallway and they can communicate with somebody, or see if they're working, or see if they're on break, or talk to them about an idea they may have. And again, with most platforms, that's not efficient, that's not effective. But from an employee standpoint, we have heard nothing but positive things about being a remote worker. And I don't know if we're going to ever go 100% remote working, but the statistics I read is 70-80% of the companies are going to go more remote, than especially enterprise companies, rather than brick and mortar. I spoke to several large real estate companies that we're talking to right now. They're telling me that their leases, although the number of clients are the same, the amount of square footage they're renting is less, 30 to 40% less. So it's a dramatic change for them. And primarily they're saying it's because people are trying to find a way to use a hybrid situation where you have brick and mortar and you have home agents at the same time.
Very cool. So let's talk about the challenges outsourcers have in today's environment with so many remote workers, and specifically, how next-gen virtual office can solve for the challenges and outcomes that the clients are looking for BPOs are looking for.
Well, again, many of the BPOs, it was a shock to them, right? Because when the pandemic hit, you had social distancing, number one. And if you've ever been in a call center, you know that the cubicles are typically right next to each other, and they're 4 by 6 feet wide, and so you're on top of each other. So that wasn't going to work with the pandemic. So what happened, unless they were considered essential companies, which was an interesting definition, but they were shut down, and their employees were forced to go home. Many of them weren't prepared for that. Many of them, many of these agents did not have portable computers. Many of them had desktops maybe at home that they used for their personal use. They didn't want to use it for their business. And so it was a whole different restructuring of the entire workforce relationship and environment. And the BPOs got hit the worst. So, and if they didn't have any type of communication platform like NextGen Virtual Office, they were really just forced to do it the old-fashioned way, right? Call somebody on the phone and speak to them, via telephone. They had no visibility into what was going on, other than with the CCAS systems. Most CCAS systems today, have facilitated remote workers as well, right? We can share their monitor with us. We can listen to their phone call. We can coach them, through Whisper. We can, basically help them manage a call or a contact that they're currently doing. But again, it was a complete paradigm shift for them to say, okay, now you're completely at home. The absenteeism rate went up dramatically. But the great part about what's happened with the contact center business overall is it's grown, which is interesting, primarily because of the economy, but also because of the pandemic. A lot of companies realized that they laid people off. And then when it came back to bringing them back, they figured that it was more cost effective for them and a better customer experience if they outsourced it rather than bringing it back in-house. So, that has been the good news for the contact center industry. Again, the bad news is that if the management team and the organization didn't have the policies and the processes and procedures in place to manage remote agents, they kind of got caught flat-footed, and it took them a while to facilitate that. But I think they're recovering well.
Awesome. So let's just run through some challenges that you're seeing for BPOs, and I guess it could be other call centers too, where the virtual office platform might help.
Well, as I said, one of the main challenges they have is culture and community, and I can't emphasize that enough. Because again, most agents that come into the call center industry, it's not going to be their career. It's something they're doing typically to go to school, or they're doing as a stopgap measure for their career that they're doing. So they look to come and be a part of something. There's a book called "There's a Monster Under the Bed," and it talks about that if you want to retain employees, the best thing to do is to hire one of their friends. And if you hire one friend of an employee, you have a 50% greater chance of retaining them. If you hire two friends of an employee, you have a 75% greater chance to retain them. And the reason being, again, is they go to work, they want to have lunch with somebody they know, they want to have breaks with somebody they know, talk about the business, whatever, to be able to facilitate their career or the issues or questions they may have. So, that's probably the biggest challenge that BPOs have today. And again, turnover is our enemy. Training is another issue, right? And you can train on a CCAS system only to a certain level. But again, with our technology, we bring you in a training facility. We can have up to 50 people in a room. They can all simultaneously share their screen at the same time. So these are all limitations of trying to train a remote agent. even when there were remote agents before the pandemic, again, most companies did what they call a hub and spoke model, right? Where they would hire employees or agents within a 50-mile radius of the call center. And the reason being is that they would bring them into the contact center for training, right? Be able to interview them one-on-one. Again, and that's another issue with interviewing people. Now, I mean, you can cobble together many technologies to facilitate what we facilitate under one umbrella, but it is a little clunky. And with our technology, you can take them all the way from interview to testing to introducing them to their manager to having them second interviewed, accepting them into the job, giving them an offer letter, and starting somebody within 2 hours.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. So, if I'm keeping score here, as I'm trying to, attrition, obviously a giant problem for BPOs, with many seeing 100% attrition a year. And so this kind of solution is going to help agents feel less isolated, more connected. It's going to improve the social aspects and culture of the company. It's going to provide for better collaboration. It's a better means, or more kind of brings back the traditional mode for being able to train people in groups as if you were in an actual training room live with the people like you used to be. So it's going to help with the hiring, training, recruiting, agents being connected and collaboration, the being able to monitor, train, and coach agents. What have I missed?
No, you got it all. I mean, the reality of what's happened and the pandemic just pushed us along. I always believed that there will be some type of a platform like ours that would facilitate better communication with remote employees. And it's not just remote agents, it's remote employees overall. Again, the biggest advantage that I see that BPOs have with utilizing a platform like ours is the fact that they can recruit all over the world. If you want somebody that speaks French with our platform, I can hire somebody in Paris, France, and manage them here in the United States. So they have to speak English, obviously, as well. They have to be bilingual, so we can communicate with them.
At least to talk to you, they do.
Yeah, right. Well, but it gives me the ability. It gives me the ability to hire the best talent worldwide, rather than be limited to just a geographic area. And that to me is and growth. I mean, that's another issue we haven't talked about. BPOs, we always have clients that say, yeah, I want 150 workstations. You say, okay, I have 150 workstations. And then 30 days before launch, they say, oh, I need 250 workstations. Now you have to build another 100 workstations. Well, that takes time, right? You have to find a facility, you have to build out the call center, you have to build out the infrastructure, you have to build out the cubicles, hire the employees. Well, with our technology, you tell me you want another 100 workstations, within 24 hours, I can give you 100 workstations. And now we can go and recruit. And, recruiting online now has become a standard or a norm as well, right? This is all the new norm that we've been forced into because of this pandemic.
Yep. And I see outside of the contact center, boy, if I owned a company today, I'd probably want to use all remote gig workers around the world for everything. And this would be a way for me to be able to work with them, collaborate as if, we worked in an office together. I could even see trade shows wanting to use this model for virtual events. Where there's the person at the desk to greet you, and then there's the trade show floor where there could be custom booths for each vendor and people actually in the booths that you can have video conversations with. And then you go to some big hall for the keynote, and maybe smaller rooms for the for the other sessions and roundtables. So it seems like there's so many different ways companies could benefit from this technology.
Yeah, it truly gives people, and it gives you the ability to conference with people on a larger scale. So we can have 1,000 people in a video conference all come to a video conference versus having to travel and make the expense of the travel, the time, the energy, to do that as well. So, again, it's I don't know. I have to be honest with you. I found that I'm a much more effective manager managing through our platform than I ever was in a brick and mortar facility. Example, you and I were at CCW in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and in the morning I would wake up, I'd log into my office and see who was in their office, and I would have 15-20 minute meetings with all my direct reports. Within 2 hours, I was done, and we had everything scheduled for the day, and now I could go to the trade show. It just made me that much more efficient as a manager. So
Well, that's cool. Another idea comes to mind is that this goes back to BPOs. So I remember BPOs would invite me out, and they were so proud to give me a tour of their centers. And I'd walk through, I'd see where the lockers were, because sometimes they even had areas where, oh, this is a clean desk environment based on the compliance of the client. There's no phones, paper, pens, or anything on it. They showed me those areas and the lockers and the whole center and the social areas and so on.
Right.
And I know they did that all the time for prospective clients. If you had a really great prospect, you wanted to bring them out to your facility, assuming it's a really nice one and impressive, and show off the facility. And that lended itself towards winning that client. And so I could almost see this is a differentiator for BPOs when they're actually able to essentially give that same tour they used to do virtually, and they're up against another BPO that can't do anything like that. I would think it lends itself towards the BPO using this type of solution, winning more business, and maybe even being more sticky, because then how do you walk away from all of that, go to somebody where they don't have it?
You bring up a great point. 2 points. Number one, typically if a client has 100, 200 workstations with a BPO, they like to send somebody to go walk the floor to be able to speak to the agents. And we used to have managers literally come live in the city where their call center was, right? And so that they could feel like they were in control of the outsource. Well, we give them that same ability, but they don't have to go anywhere. They can do it from the luxury of their living room, right? The comfort of their living room. They can monitor all these agents. In addition, we don't only have clients that have remote agents in the virtual contact center, but we have brick and mortar agents in the virtual contact center as well, so that the virtual office employees can communicate with the brick and mortar employees, and really it becomes one big family. And that's the same thing with our clients, that our clients, if they want to outsource 50 workstations to us, but keep 50 workstations in-house, which many of them do, right? It's just a spillover or overflow, or they just need more capacity. We can do that as well. We can give them 50 workstations on half the floor, and we keep 50 workstations. Now, the great part about it is, again, it's the community side of this, right? My agents are communicating with their agents. Their agents are experienced. They're telling our agents some of the things that they're going to find, some of the issues they're going to have to deal with. And it becomes, again, a true extension. And I think that's what every client wants with a BPO, is they really want them just to be an extension of their in-house call center and feel like they are in control, because quite frankly, many times we are the heart and soul, heartbeat of a company, right? We are the bloodline. We're the contact that the customer is going to see here and evaluate whether they want to continue to do business with that company.
Absolutely. Well, this was terrific, and Joe, in the notes, I'm going to make sure that we include your full contact information. I imagine there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to want to learn more and see their own demo. So we'll make sure we include that. And otherwise, this has been a fantastic interview, and I certainly learned a lot, and I think everyone else will, about this technology and what it can mean to their business. So I want to thank you for joining us today on the Contact Center Gurus podcast, and hopefully we'll do some follow-up sessions in other areas we didn't cover today.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Darren. I appreciate your support. You've been a great supporter of our company from the beginning, and we truly appreciate this opportunity to do a podcast with you. And one other thing, Cloud Tech Gurus is the best. I have to say, you guys did so much great work with me and finding my technology and helping me facilitate some of the processes that we're utilizing, including gig workers.
Awesome, my friend. Well, thank you kindly. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk again. Take care, everyone. Ciao.
Take care, Darren. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Contact Center Gurus podcast. Make sure to visit our sponsor pages. SupportLogic at www.supportlogic.io. Balto at www.balto.ai. Ozonetel at www.ozonetel.com. Cloud Tech Gurus at www.cloudtechgurus.com. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.